Now, once upon a time in professional wrestling, it used to matter what the fans thought.
For example, all you parents out there with kids, when your kids misbehave, you give the New Day a call. The New Day comes over to your house, and we will fight your children.
Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of wrestling sucks. But when it's good, it's fucking great. Wrestling is melodrama. Wrestling is mythology. Wrestling is action. Wrestling is comic books. The only thing wrestling isn't is wrestling.
Who wants to take back professional wrestling?
Welcome everybody to episode 104 of Around the Ring. I am one of your co-hosts, Floyd and Savior Johnson, and with me as always is the incomparable Silky Dave Brown. How you doing today, Silky?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I am doing well. This is a week of wrestling. You know, very rare that we don't have a pay-per-view with our new pay-per-view schedule. So it's kind of cool to not have one. But the week in wrestling, it was kind of a abbreviated week in wrestling. We got a little shocking news, and we're going to discuss it today. Just as a note, we were supposed to have one of my friends from high school, Jeffrey Snells, on today. We were having technical difficulties with Skype, so we weren't able to set it up. We will have him on again at a later time. But let's go ahead and jump into the week of wrestling. Oh, let me first ask, are you excited about Game of Thrones starting tonight?
You know, I've never actually watched Game of Thrones.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa! We got breaking news here on Around the Ring. Geek extraordinaire has never watched Game of Thrones.
Well, one, I don't have HBO. That doesn't mean I couldn't easily find it, which I could. It's right up my alley because I do love epic fantasy. The Lord of the Rings trilogy, not the Hobbit trilogy, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy is probably my favorite movies of all time. I love those films, and I'm a huge fan of the Terry Brooks Shannara series, and the Shannara Chronicles that MTV put together was a really good show. It's moving to a different network for season 2 whenever the hell that comes out. So, yeah, it would seem like Game of Thrones would be my thing, and I've just never gotten around to watching it. And in a way, I'm kind of almost waiting until it's over to start. I don't know. I've heard nothing but good things about it, so I will eventually watch it. The cast is ridiculous. They've got some just incredible actors in that cast. So, I've never seen it. How about you? Are you excited?
Yeah, I am definitely a Game of Thrones fan. I wouldn't call myself a diehard. I've been through the series one time. I'm watching season 6 now with my girlfriend, getting ready for season 7. It's one of those shows that is pretty much everything. I can relay it back to our subject because it's everything I want wrestling to be. It's like everything you expect to happen doesn't. Sometimes the bad guy just wins. It's not a case where the bad guy wins and then eventually the good guy wins later or some way. Like we got with Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman. No, it's the bad guy wins, you get over it. And I like that aspect of it. It's just the very epic story. And like I said, I feel like the wrestling writers as a whole can learn from that show because it keeps everybody on its feet. And another thing, and I actually brought this up earlier this week with a friend of mine, the way that they lock down the script and the show, and so spoilers don't get out. I mean, seriously, when they're casting for a role, they don't even tell the person who they're playing until after they get the role. And they let them know, if you let anyone know you have this role, you're not going to be on the show.
Yeah, which I'm sure that it's probably a lot easier to hold that down than to hold WWE down, because as big of a production as Game of Thrones obviously is, the amount of people that go into working for WWE dwarfs it, I'm sure.
And that's true, but I'm just saying, it's one of those things. If you're serious about it, you can lock it down. They've hit things before. They've hit a lot of things. And it's just, if you're serious about it, you can lock it down.
True, but they probably just don't care enough to bother.
Yeah, you know what Vince does? If something works once, he'll be like, remember that one time? So that one time, WCW announced Mick Foley was going to win the title, and then everybody turned the channel on WWF to watch Mick Foley win the title. That was great when you had competition. But now that there's no competition, when people can just go online and read everything that happened, that really does stop them from tuning in. Especially when they can read it a week or two in advance.
Yeah, that is true. And
if I told you every major plot point of Game of Thrones right now and what happened, would you go and watch it?
Maybe.
If I said, this is what happened, this is who dies, this is how the story goes, there you go. Now go watch it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I'm weird with spoilers. Sometimes it bothers me, and sometimes it doesn't. So, yeah, no, in WWE specifically, GFW, I think, has issues with spoilers getting out, but the difference is no one cares. But WWE definitely has issues with spoilers getting out, with NXT tapings, with my brain's stopping working with the Mae Young Classic stuff, which I've avoided, though I did just see a story that the 4 horsewomen of MMA and the 4 horsewomen of WWE kind of had a standoff at the Mae Young Classic, which I'm like, yes, please, more of that. Can we? Yes, that sounds awesome. I'm really looking forward to watching the Mae Young Classic, actually. The more and more I hear about it, and I'm avoiding spoilers, but...
yeah, I really hate that they're recording it this weekend, and we don't get it until August 28th.
Yeah, it seems really far in advance to record it, and
you're making me try to avoid spoilers for a month and a half.
And I wonder, are they going to do the finals live like they did with the CWC?
I don't know. I know if you look up any woman, if you look up any women's wrestler on Wikipedia, which I can't do now, it's going to tell you where they finished in the show. That's the problem. You cannot wiki any woman for a month and a half if you want to actually be surprised.
True. Yeah, I wikied Global Force a little while ago to look up some stuff about Alberto El Patron and that whole thing, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And I was spoiled on an upcoming title change. So I don't care, so that's fine. But, yeah, so
yeah, if someone's watching the show and Mia Yim, she's one of the contestants, that's not a spoiler. There's a bunch of contestants that are all out there. She's one of the contestants. You Google Mia Yim to learn more about her. And that's what I do. You know, I was doing that with the Cruiserweight Classic to learn more about wrestlers that I might not be familiar with. Boom, right there at the bottom. She finished this in the women's. I have not wikied her, so I have no idea where she finished. If she won a match, if she lost, I have no clue. But I'm just saying the fact that you have to go a month and a half without doing that. You can't even wiki the people while you're watching the show.
Yeah, that's kind of messed up.
I could see 2 weeks. I could see like, hey, we recorded it today. The show starts on July 27th. That's perfect, but it's too long.
I agree wholeheartedly. That is way too long. So it's going to be a challenge, not accidentally hearing what's going on. But it is something I'm really looking forward to watching. I loved the Cruiserweight Classic. it was just incredible. I sadly never did get around to watching the other one, the UK tournament. But the matches I've seen with those guys since then, I've really enjoyed them. So I know I can already tell that it was great. So I'm hoping that this one is just as good. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, that was a beautiful segue from Game of Thrones to wrestling, didn't it? That was kind of awesome.
That was very good, sir. Very good.
No. So let's talk about Raw. Let's go through the week of wrestling.
Yes.
Raw. What were your highlights from Raw, sir?
Okay. I liked Cass's promo. I thought the Elias Sampson Finn Balor stuff was horribly boring. The Hardy Boys in-ring promo. This was probably one of the big things. The Hardy Boys, Matt getting very broken-y, and then Gallows and Anderson coming in, that turning into a match which Gallows and Anderson win, and I think that's a good thing. One, Gallows and Anderson desperately need a win, and two, if there's any hope of ever a broken-esque version of the Hardys coming, they need to go on a massive losing streak. So that was cool. But then the best part of that was the Revival comes out and destroys the Hardys, just shatter machines them, and then who was it? Matt sent out a tweet that something along the lines of, "I finally have something in common with the Young Bucks. Fuck the Revival," or something like that. It was great. So that I enjoyed. Let's see here. What else is there? Because I actually took relatively detailed notes. I thought the Miz TV segment was all right, though I did have to wonder. At one point, the Miz called himself the greatest man in WWE, and my ears perked up. I'm like, I wonder if that is a shot at one Mr. Austin Aries. Because, sometimes Vince or writers slip in little things into people's promos and that they say that are shots or digs at people. And that seemed, the timing of that with Aries leaving and the Miz saying that, and it's so close to Aries' catchphrase, that was interesting. Then I did like that Miz talked a bunch of trash about a whole bunch of baby faces, and I like that this is kind of morphing into a not just Miz and Dean Ambrose, because God knows we don't need that anymore, but getting Seth Rollins into the mix, and maybe even if God would look down kindly upon us and get Roman Reigns involved, we could actually get a Shield reunion, and the Shield could face off against the Miz, Bo Dallas, and Curtis Axel. That could actually be kind of fun. But yeah, then let's see. And at any point, if you want to chime in, I'm just kind of going through my notes. The Dean and Seth trash talking backstage about no Shield reunion, that made me kind of sad. Let's see, the women's match. The thing that I just walked away from this is they have really screwed over Bayley because her pops are so much smaller than they used to be. I fast forwarded completely through the the R-Truth Gold Dust crap. Then the Kurt Angle.
That's say hater.
So anything on this before we get into the really good the Kurt Angle, Joe Roman stuff?
Oh, okay. Well, let me say this. I agree with you wholeheartedly. That was the best promo I've ever seen Cass cut. Enter the Big Show, which everybody was calling that. Where, Big Show said August was his last month in the WWE, so that's going to be a great way for him to say goodbye, putting over Cass. Then we get Finn, the Finn and Elias Sampson stuff. They got to do something different. I think they're shitting the bed with Finn right now. Just totally shitting the bed with Finn. And I don't blame Finn. You only can, they give you a blank page and an outline, and you have to color inside of it. And there's not much you can do with Elias Sampson.
No, there's not. And it's sad because he has done so much better on the main roster than he did in NXT, and I think that's something both you and I suspected. I remember I said as much, that I thought, like with Mojo Rawley, I thought his gimmick would get over much better to mainstream crowds. But he and Finn Balor have zero chemistry, and it's really weird because Finn was the first Universal Champion. He was in the main event picture, and then you pair him up with this guy who's an up-and-comer who's basically looked at as a funny joke. And they're trying to make something out of it, and you would think, well, Elias is going to get the rub from Finn. And when I watch it, it's more of okay, who did Finn piss off to get this pairing? And granted, there's only so much spot in room in the main event, but could we maybe get, I don't know, Finn going against The Miz for the IC title? I would actually be interested in Finn against Bray Wyatt. More than Finn against Elias Sampson, and whatever it is, this just needs to end. I mean, he's beaten Elias in almost every match. Any definitive victory Finn has had. So just, we got to get that over with. It's boring, and they both need to move on to other things that will work better for their characters and people they'll have better chemistry with.
Yeah. And my whole thing was Elias Sampson. I would have gave him an old school push, 6 months, only wrestling jobbers, never losing, claiming to be undefeated, and then maybe put him against someone. I just don't think the stigma of him being an NXT jobber had went away yet.
Exactly.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. They should have given him
Finn Balor.
Right, exactly. They should have given him the Nia Jax, Braun Strowman treatment. For a few months, have him face nothing but job guys, and because that did wonders for both of those two.
Yeah, maybe even lower level people on Raw, just have them win a couple feuds where it's like, but you haven't beat anybody type situation. Maybe have them go over Heath Slater, have him a little mini feud with Heath Slater and Rhino. He beats both of them every time, and build them up. Then, when Finn Balor beats him, it means something other than Finn Balor beating a jobber.
Exactly. Yeah, you could have had him face jobbers, and then he could face off against Heath Slater, Kurt Hawkins, prior to Bo and Curtis Axel becoming part of the Miz Taraj. Those two guys, even though it truly pains me to put Bo Dallas in the same breath as Kurt Hawkins and whatnot, because I love Bo Dallas. But yeah, it's just bad. I concur. Yeah.
So and then of course my boys, the Revival, coming back. Very happy about that, and I'm hoping the Hardys go broken. They need another face tag team on Raw. It's kind of funny. It's just a bunch of teams beating up the Hardys right now.
But you could make that to where they just snap, and it could even be Matt snaps, and maybe Jeff doesn't, and Jeff's like, whoa, what the hell? I mean, they could really just redo the storyline that was done in TNA.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing that it would, I think, do really, really well. And whatever palms they need to grease to make this happen, WWE just maybe writes GFW and Anthem a check for $1 million, because they will make, if they had the broken gimmick in T-shirts alone, they would make $1 million back. I know it's a weird precedent, but I also heard on another podcast that they were the ones that set this precedent. They were the ones that were like, no, it's our intellectual property, and screwed over wrestlers, screwed over other promotions. And so now this whole thing has come to bite them in the butt, and they need to just write a big fat check. And the other thing, what saved WrestleMania 1? A big check from Jim Crockett. So why not return the favor?
I don't think Vince thinks of that far in advance, and I don't think he wants to pay GFW because he doesn't consider them a wrestling company.
Yeah, well, there's a good possibility that freaking Dixie Carter is going to be on Raw on Monday, so it's weird. Stranger things have happened. But we'll get to that in a second. Did you have any other thoughts on anything before we get into the big?
I'm tired of seeing Dean Ambrose. I know SummerSlam's coming up. That's a big payday for him. That's a big payday for him. But I really think they should do like an old gimmick where they have The Miz and them knock him, like do some serious damage and write him off of TV for a month or so. And just kind of reintroduce him. He comes back or whatever, because his character's so stale right now.
Oh God, yeah, and it's so weird because the crowds pop huge for the guy, and his shirts sell because, well, honestly, he has some of the better shirts out there. He's got some cool merch, so it's very strange. I'd almost rather see them do at SummerSlam a final blow off with The Miz, do a loser leaves town match, and The Miz freaking wins, and Dean Ambrose goes back to SmackDown.
Or something. They just need to get away from each other.
Yeah, they do.
The women's match. I mean, personally, I didn't think... personally, the whole Bayley situation, I think you have to beat her down to make her a more sympathetic face. I just think she has to lose, and I think she has to go on this losing streak. And if you're trying to do a thing where you're building up Sasha and Bayley at WrestleMania, guess what?
Yeah.
She has to lose. So and then you got Goldust and R-Truth. I actually like this feud. People can hate on me for all they want. I like the Goldust is getting TV. I like the R-Truth is getting TV. I like that people that have worked their asses off for many, many years and they've stayed in great shape, and they don't mind putting over new people. They give them a little time, and I actually find the whole thing entertaining. It's a throwback to the 90s, which a character that pretty much changed wrestling. I mean, he was completely different than anything anybody saw, using real movie quotes in his promos and stuff like that. Definitely Goldust. I was mad that he didn't have his golden cameraman with him. I thought that would be cool. And now let's go on to what we're going to talk about, the big storyline.
Yes. Oh my God, this segment was so unbelievably great. Kurt Angle comes out, calls out Brock and Paul Heyman. They come out and basically say, hey, you've got nothing for us. We're leaving. Roman Reigns' music hits, and Brock just looks irritated. It's so awesome. Roman did, at one point, I think it was, I forget if it was Brock or Paul Heyman made some quip about Braun Strowman, and basically Roman said, well, you're not around to take care of it, to Brock. I thought that was a really, really good line. And that got a nice reaction. And then Brock was saying, he doesn't deserve a shot. And then it got good. Samoa Joe's music hit. And did you notice that Brock had an actual concern, like an oh shit look on his face?
Yeah, and even Paul Heyman, like, I don't want to fight that guy again. They sold that well. Like, I don't want to fight but hey, I'll fight Roman Reigns. I don't want to fight that guy anymore. He's crazy.
Exactly. And man, I'm sorry, but that does nothing to help Roman Reigns. It makes Roman Reigns look like a bitch.
Well, think about it. Brock's beat Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Has he beat him?
No.
Oh.
Their match.
Their match has never end with a winner.
Yeah, no, they never have, and they've only had one-on-one match.
And then Seth Rollins jumped in.
Exactly, and Seth pinned Roman.
Yeah,
he did curb stomp the hell out of Brock. But man, Brock knows how to take a curb stomp. He sold that move well.
Everybody should still be taking curb stomps.
I agree. So the thing with this is, I think the biggest takeaway from this is Samoa Joe is on a completely different level from everyone else. If you watch this whole segment and didn't go, Samoa Joe is the baddest motherfucker on the face of the earth, I don't know what you were watching, because he was so good.
The best part of it is not signing Samoa Joe for so long and letting him build up his mystique and other characters and other things that people have actually worked.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, there are two great examples of for years people saying, well, why isn't WWE signed so and so? And when they finally show up, that it goes, it works, and you're like, holy crap, this is amazing. One is AJ Styles, and the other is Samoa Joe. So yeah, it's.
Hold on a second. Jeff is calling me. Hold on.
Ooh.
We may be able to add him to the conversation.
Yeah, you might have to actually not pick up that and then add him to the group call.
That's what I'm about to do.
Awesome.
Accept. Hold on. Add to group call. All right. Are we all here?
Jeff. Hey man, can you hear us?
Jeff.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. There we go.
Sweet. All right. Well, we are midway. We're talking about Raw right now.
I had some technical difficulties. Sorry about that.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for coming on the
No
show.
worries.
So just to let you know where we are, we're talking about Monday Night Raw, and we're up to the point of the Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns segment. What were your thoughts on this segment?
I actually enjoyed the segment and the teasers that they did. It's funny how you have Braun Strowman who's still hanging out there, and I really enjoyed it because now since we're on the road to SummerSlam, they kind of think, okay, here's some angles and here's some places they can go. I like the fan reaction. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a good segment, in my opinion.
Joe, a situation with this is like it's very clear to me. If anyone watches, if you watch for storylines, I feel like Paul Heyman has a lot to do with how the story is unfolding.
I think so too. I think he is probably having a lot of creative input on this because, well, it doesn't suck for one.
And as I say, it feels different. It feels like a different way of building it. It doesn't feel like the normal, hey, you win this time, this guy wins this time, hey, that's the way. Samoa Joe got over in a loss.
Exactly. He big time. He stood up to Brock Lesnar. He was able to do things against Brock Lesnar no one else has been able to do in a very, very long time. And he came out of that looking like $1 million. So, yeah, I'm a huge Samoa Joe fan now. It's ridiculous. And that's now. Hey, what do you think? Real quick, going back to something we already discussed. But what do you think of the Hardys segment on Raw this week?
Oh man, I'm trying to go back. That was their promo, correct?
Correct.
I mean, I like what Matt and Jeff are doing, and it's interesting to me because everyone is talking about the whole broken thing. Should they do it? Should they not do it? But I actually enjoyed what the Hardys are. I enjoy their work. You can tell. I mean, I know for us three. I mean, we remember the Hardys back when they were young, and you can definitely tell they're not young anymore. But I think those two guys are. I think they're having a good time. I think they're doing their job. I think they're doing a better job as far as with the new tag teams than what the Dudleys did when they came back. Is that what you guys are talking about?
Yeah, and the whole with the that same with with everything about with the revival coming out but yes.
And one of the things that I think we all can agree on is fans, we like freshness. I think with the Hardys to do it because, okay, let's go back. None of us, well, maybe Floyd, but none of us really expected the Hardys to ever come back. And when they came back, okay, boom, here's some freshness. Now let's see how they're going to work with, the younger guys and how they're going to have their experience with them in the ring, out the ring, and stuff like that. And so and in my opinion, I think the Hardys bring a new audience. I mean, there's a lot of us who remember them, but they did so well on the indies, so well in all the places that they were, and boom, here they come in. Now they're getting an opportunity to work with these guys, and I like it. Matt is still the talker. Jeff isn't really the talker that much, so that hasn't changed much. But I think what these guys are doing are incredible, man. I really like it.
Yeah, and are you looking forward to the prospect of a revival Hardys feud?
I am. Let's do it. I don't care if it's Raw. I don't care if it's a pay-per-view. Let's go. Let's see what these guys can come up with.
I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't. So after this whole segment went down, we had the whole Kurt Angle, Corey Graves backstage about a text thing. And then we actually had a cruiserweight match in actually a good position on the show that seemed to get some decent reaction. Kira Tozawa and Cedric Alexander taking on Noam Dar and Neville.
It's a great town, a great wrestling town. So they actually appreciate the cruiserweight division. Get club members in the house for this match, and this is probably the most over I've heard a match. I do think Titus O'Neil has a lot to do with it.
I think the Titus bringing that in, and Cedric and Tozawa are both guys that can really pull in a crowd. Noam Dar, I've completely decided after watching this, and then the match from 205 Live is boring. Just so boring.
You know what? And at the end of 205 Live, you're starting to see more of his indie characters. And that being said, I think you're going to start actually liking him.
I hope so. I really do.
I mean, on the indies, he plays a Playboy type character. And they kind of made him like a pussy whipped type dude, and it just he didn't play it. He didn't play it well.
Yeah, and I love it. Well, we'll talk about 205 Live in a minute, but and then the show ended with Seth Rollins taking on Bray Wyatt. Because we need to see that again for some dumbass reason. My big takeaway from this was not only has Seth Rollins borrowed from Kenny Omega in the knee strike, he is now trying to take Marty Scurll's finger break. I'm like, dude, can you stop stealing other people's moves unless that becomes a gimmick, and which would be great.
Hold on just a second. You'll know me this. I don't believe in gimmick infringement. I believe you do your moves. I don't care if you take someone else's moves. Not WWE or Indies. I mean anyone, because everybody can do a cutter, but nobody does the cutter like Randy Orton. Everybody can do a diamond cutter. No one still to this day does it as effective as DDP. It's just, to me, a move's a move. And I hate that whole idea that you shouldn't do anyone else's moves. Hey, he doesn't do it as well as Kenny Omega. He doesn't nearly. Kenny Omega's knee and Seth Rollins' knee honestly shouldn't even be in the same conversation.
True. Yeah, no, if I'm going to rank knee strikes, Seth Rollins is near the bottom. Kenny Omega is number 1, followed by Aleister Black. Because both those guys look like they're going to decapitate your ass.
And my problem with the whole thing is, hey, WWE, a curb stomp or a knee to the head. Which one is easier for a kid to emulate? I can knee someone in the head pretty easily.
I'm not that spry.
I'm just saying. It makes no sense when you think about the reasons that they're saying. I'm like, the move is a knee to the head. That's how you get a concussion.
True.
And I'll agree with Floyd with the whole taking other guys' moves. Listen to Jericho's podcast and a couple of the guys. A lot of these guys may see guys on the indies or may see guys overseas who do these incredible moves. And what they do is it's kind of like paying homage, so to speak, and they'll do them. Because WWE, I mean, obviously they're on a higher platform, they're on a higher scale. And so some of these moves, like, wow, but, you know, if you do your own personal research, you can find, okay, this was so-and-so's move. They know this guy, and they're just paying homage to him. Similar to a guy in the NBA see a crossover, see a move that they saw a guy did growing up in the playground, and they actually take it to that next level. As long as they give the person credit who originated it, so to speak, I have no problem with that. I mean, we've seen several wrestlers do Eddie Guerrero's Fog Splash maybe 100,000 times, and so I don't have a problem with someone stealing someone's move as long as they give them the original person credit for it.
Yeah, it's like at one time the top two people in the WWE were Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. That was arguable at the time. That might just be my revisionist history, but they were top. And CM Punk's finisher and Daniel Bryan's finisher were both stolen from Kenta, and it's like it didn't make Kenta any less of a dominant wrestler. I'm like Bret Hart and Sting were both doing the Scorpion Deathlock or the Sharpshooter. I mean, the world did not explode. People didn't be like, oh my God, because he did that move and he did that move. Hey, one guy does it better. I mean, Bret Hart did his a little differently, but it was still a Scorpion Deathlock. I would like people put their own twist on it. Like with Seth Rollins, he kind of took Okada's move and he took Kenny Omega's move and put them together. Hey, and Omega doesn't really use the knee strike as a finisher. Now, if the one-wing angel and then just basically sticking the middle finger up to Kenny Omega, I might say something then. But he at least tried to put his own twist on the move. It looks like shit. Now, that's my problem with it. It looks like shit.
And you know what else is funny? Okay, the term you pencil neck geek. Okay, Classy Freddie Blassie used that back in the 70s. And do you guys remember a guy named Crush, Brian Adams?
Yeah.
Yeah, Crush was using it in WCW, I guess as far as when he was talking down to someone. And I heard one of the Tough Enough, when I was watching Tough Enough here about a year ago, they used that term called someone a pencil neck geek. And so little things like that have really stood the test of time. So I'm quite sure the kid who just used it, I know he wasn't even born when Classy Freddie Blassie was around, because someone fed him that line, pencil neck geek.
Yeah, and then the Pope pretty much tries to be an old school commentator, and he uses stuff like that all the time on Global Force Wrestling. So, and it sounds horrible coming from him.
Oh, he is
so bad.
He is so bad. So here's a question though: who is worse, the Pope or Percy Watson?
Percy Watson is so irrelevant, I forget he's there. So he doesn't take away from the match to me.
Yeah, Percy
I
is...
think De Niro takes away from the match.
Oh yeah,
because he's so horrible that you really need to feel the need to press mute.
Yeah, one of the best things I think about Slammiversary was the commentary.
Yeah,
and it was just top notch, excellent commentary. And then you get the Pope out there, and you hear the Pope and Barnett and all of them going back and forth, and it's painful. It's like, I think my ears are bleedingly bad. Percy Watson is completely, unoffensive. He's just there, and every so often he's like, "Oh, hey guys, remember me?" and says something, and then shuts up for a while because Morrow and Nigel McGuinness got this.
They be like, I agree with that. He does that, and that's the best thing for him to say.
Exactly.
You know what? Being out there, he's learning from them too, and I can see in 6 months to a year him getting a lot better.
Yeah, I could see that. So my thing with Seth Rollins is I really, in principle, I completely agree with you guys. I don't think there's a problem with using other people's moves. For whatever reason, Seth has been, there's kind of a stink when he does it, and I don't know quite what it is. It's just something.
His move was so good.
Yeah, that's part of it. But if he turned it into a gimmick, where like if every match he started beating people with their own finishers, I think that would be great.
I've been talking about that as a gimmick for like since I started watching wrestling. I always thought that would be a cool gimmick, that someone just basically says, I'm such a good wrestler that I'm going to beat you with your move. and he just does that.
Didn't Eugene? Didn't they try that with Eugene?
Well, I remember he used the Stone Cold Stunner in the Rock Bottom.
Okay.
And that was just kind of like, hey, to Stone Cold and The Rock, because they both weren't there, and I guess that was just a way because those moves are really over. Like, to me personally, I think someone should be using the Stunner, and I think someone should be using the Rock Bottom.
You know what? I don't mean to cut you off, Floyd, but you know where I think you get that from? I don't know if it was maybe 1997 or 1998. There was a video game, one of the wrestling games, and if you got a certain amount of stars, you could do the other person's finisher move on that person.
Yes. And
That's where you were going with that?
No, I was going to say it's actually a part of the 2K series. One of your special moves is that you can be called a move stealer, and it's
okay.
It's an awesome thing. And I thought, but that's where the original thought process came from. I think it was the WCW versus NWO type game, where you could steal the other person's finisher, and it was awesome. And it's just like, to me, what we're looking for in wrestling as fans, and I hope Jeff can speak to this, is you just said it. We're looking for something we haven't seen before. And
now, do you guys think Seth Rollins? Do you think he could do everyone else's move on the roster finisher?
I think he would have a problem once he gets up to like Braun Strowman, but yeah, I mean Seth Rollins is probably the best worker in the company. I mean, other than
over AJ Styles,
maybe I may put them as even, that kind of thing. But he's a great worker. It's just like I said, I've said this before. The curb stomp was his. I had never seen anyone do that as a finisher before. I'd kind of seen it in matches before, but I'd never seen anyone use it as a finisher and do it as effectively and make it look as good as Seth Rollins did. That was his move. He came out and he did things. He did the knee off the top ropes, which a lot of people weren't doing, and he would always take the big spot into the match. Seth Rollins was truly original. When I saw Seth Rollins, I was like, man, maybe this guy in a whole different way could be our new HBK, right? Mm-hmm. And then, first of all, they take the curb stomp away from him. They made him and give him the pedigree. And now they say, hey, don't do the pedigree, do another move. Now you're on the third finisher he's used in the company. Just think of how many wrestlers we watch, how many people have changed finishers that much. Big name guys change finishers that much.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. Yeah. And then it's the finisher is a part of your brand, right? And he actually came up with a brand that was different than anyone else's, and that was something that made him appealing. To me, like, people talk about them crapping the bed with Bayley and them crapping the bed with Sami Zayn. They've crapped the bed with Seth Rollins more than anyone because I thought he was that next guy.
Yeah, they really have screwed the pooch with Seth. I think, to your question, Jeff, about could Seth Rollins be someone who could pull off stealing finishers? I think he could. He in the ring. I agree with Floyd. He is that good. I mean, he's at AJ Styles level good. So I think he could do that. If he's going to continue using the knee, I'd like to see him do something a little different with it. Maybe something where he whips somebody into a turnbuckle and then gets up a super head of steam and does a jumping, flying knee into the face. And even with combo where his like one knee, let's say he jumps and he's going to hit you with your right knee, he drives his left knee into your chest and then hits you in the head with his right knee. Granted.
Oh yeah.
Because
that just to let you know, Floyd, I do know where Seth Rollins got the curb stomp move from.
Who?
There was a movie with Edward Norton in it called American History X, and in the film, they edited it out, but he has a guy on the curve,
on the
real street curve, and then he does it. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know Seth, but all I can think of, maybe he got it from that. So I was just saying.
You know what? And it was like when he did it on the Indies, it was called the Blackout, and I really, really wish they would have kept it as the name because the curb stomp has such a violent image that goes with it, and that move, was kind of like it, but not really. You know what I'm saying? It was just such a simple bump for the person to take that. I mean, I imagine a lot of people were like, "Damn it, why can't you do that move anymore?" Because pretty much it was a lot of theatrics, but it was just a face bump.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, Floyd, I think it'll get to the point where you saw with Taker. If you do have 3 or 4 finishers, once you get to a certain level, you can incorporate all of those finishers that you use into your normal routine, into your normal spots. Okay. Yeah. There goes this spot. There goes the curve stomp spot. And what's the move that when Seth gets on the top rope and he does the flip? He does.
Phoenix Splash.
Yeah. So if he that's one of the positives I can see with someone having to change finishers all the time. If it gets to the point, 5-10 years down the road, now they can incorporate all the finishers into their spots that they use in their match.
Well, hopefully not to be all morbid. But hopefully 5 to 10 years down the road, when Seth is still wrestling, Vince won't be around anymore, and Vince is the one who has poo-pooed the move from all accounts. So I don't wish Vince McMahon any ill. I don't read anything into that. I'm just saying when he's no longer in the picture, maybe at that point Seth can go to Triple H and say, "Can I have my move back, please?"
Vince McMahon is going to outlive us all.
Probably. Goddamn vampire.
He's going to live to 127, and I'm okay with that.
Well, was there anything else from Raw that stood out to you guys before we move on to SmackDown?
No.
I my only question is, I do like the fact that WWE keeps using Corey Graves with the whole text messaging secret what's going on thing. I really like how they use him, not just as the heel commentator, which I think he's done a good job at, but also he's that sneaky, I got the scoop type of person. I mean, I enjoy that. And so, again, it's fascinating to me whenever a new something had changed in the storyline where it's just eerie, mysterious, so to speak, they use him.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So now this Raw, they were ended with Kurt Angle on the phone saying I love you to someone, saying, hey, you're going to come in and blah 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 blah. So they're in Nashville tomorrow night. Is Dixie Carter the mystery person?
To that I say I don't know. I have done everything that I can to avoid any type of spoiler on that. I think WWE's actually trying to go with an interesting storyline, so I'm gonna just I've taken the idea that I'm gonna let it unfold. I think Dixie is too on the nose. I think they might go somewhere else.
Jeff, what do you think?
I'm one of those people where I was in shock to see her on Kurt Angle's 24 thing with the network. I would be surprised if it was her, but I wouldn't mind seeing it go somewhere else. I was trying to think earlier how many people who are in Kurt Angle's past, so to speak, that had a story with him who we haven't seen in a while, but I couldn't really come up with that person. So I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out. It's another, they're doing a pretty good job with a few things on Raw that really make it's interesting, and you want to see what happens. I really want to see what happens with the Samoa Joe stuff. I'm curious about what's going to happen with the Kurt Angle stuff. I think just in general, they've done a good job bringing some interest into a show that for the longest time has been 3 hours of pain. So it's still 3 hours is too long. I will say that forever, but it's at least it's interesting, and I'm looking forward to watching it tomorrow night. So that's to say something.
I think I wonder if it's like the last knife twist for Vince. So we start with ECW, which he saved, and then they went out of business, and then the next night after ECW announces officially folding, who shows up? Paul Heyman as a commentator, and then after WCW folds, a couple years later, he has Eric Bischoff on. And then now that, TNA has folded. I mean, it's now under Jeff Jarrett and GFW. TNA folded, and Dixie's largely responsible for it. That last little knife twist. Now you're going to work for me.
Oh, yeah. And
trying to beat me, now you work for me.
Exactly, and he's a petty enough little bitch to do that, because that kind of crap gets him off.
Yeah.
You know what, guys? I'm going to throw a name out there just because, and you hear it here first from me. I'm going to throw out Vicky Guerrero. I'm throwing it out there.
I mean, you know what? She's everything you wanted in an authority figure. She was automatic heel heat. She could get heel heat and get over in 2 words. She bust out "excuse me," and yeah, I loved Vicky Guerrero. I will always love Vicky Guerrero. So yeah, if it's something like that, I kept hearing that they're going to work with Kelly Kelly again. I've been hearing that since last February, and I haven't really heard her brought up anymore. I was like, man, that could be it. I just saw there was just so many different ways that they can go with it. It's actually built some excitement for Raw for me, which other than Braun Strowman, I don't really get excited for Raw a lot. Over the last few weeks, it's been Samoa Joe, and then, of course, Braun coming back, and now we have this. I'm thinking they're really getting a good job of getting their storylines together.
And Dave, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna give you Dixie Carter. I'm gonna take Vicky Guerrero, and we're gonna give Floyd Jim Cornette.
Oh man, but what if it was Vince Russo?
Oh gosh, no.
Bro.
Cornette, man, I hope he gets to work with the WWE again. I would love for him to be the manager of the Revival, even if it's just for one match.
That would be good.
But Floyd, he has to have the tennis racket, though.
Oh, definitely. I mean, to me, it's like, I love Jim Cornette, but why show up if you don't have the tennis racket?
He would also...
Why show up? It's like Jimmy Hart without the megaphone, man. You can't show up. That was your prop. That was it.
Yeah,
loaded tennis racket.
I think Cornette would also be a fascinating general manager. I don't know which show, because I really like... Well, I don't know how long Kurt Angle's going to be a general manager, and I'm still not quite sure how I like him as general manager. I love Daniel Bryan as general manager, so I don't want him going anywhere, and he probably won't go anywhere until his contract's over, and then he'll show up in Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling in tights.
I absolutely hate Daniel Bryan as general manager, but it's kind of like heel heat, not like go away heat. So there you go.
There you go.
If Corny shows up as general manager, he has to be a heel one.
Yeah.
Jim Cornette has to be a heel general manager.
Oh, and he hates the product so much, you have to incorporate that into his character.
Oh yeah, because what would be great about it is he could be so antagonistic toward the company, but on the same time be shitting all over the baby faces.
Yeah.
He could just play it like, I hate all of you except the Revival, and screw everybody. I'm going to make all of your lives a living hell. Vince, you probably just made the biggest mistake of your life. I have a contract now. Watch this. That could be compelling.
I think that's exactly the reason they would never hire Jim Cornette.
Exactly.
Because you give him a lot of mic, he's going to say what he feels, and you're going to have to cut
he's in that Mark Madden category. But I will say this, because I have a friend, Floyd knows him, a good friend, loves Hulk Hogan. Jim Cornette had one of the best lines I ever heard back in the Attitude Era. He said, "Hulk Hogan, you are a household name, but so is garbage, and it stinks when it gets old too. I'm Jim Cornette, and that's my opinion."
Oh my God,
that's fantastic. All right, well
let's get into SmackDown. Dave, just you didn't hear this part, Jeff. Dave has to go get his kid, so
okay.
We kind of gotta get through the show a little quicker than we usually do, but we'll have time to elaborate. So SmackDown, I'm gonna leave it open to y'all two. What were your thoughts of SmackDown?
I loved AJ Styles coming out and doing the open challenge. There was a fantastic Weebu Cena sign that cracked me up. I was a little sad that they kind of cheapened out of them actually having a title match. And my only other big takeaway from right now in SmackDown, the U.S. title is the main title. I don't care that Jinder Mahal has the world title. It does, and Randy Orton is challenging him. It doesn't matter. The main event picture right now is the U.S. title. And I think that's very cool because it is doing something to really elevate a belt that for many years had been just treated like poo. And it's not just people fighting for no real reason. These guys are all fighting over this title, and they're fighting over this legacy that Harley Race started years ago in the NWA. And I think that's pretty darn cool. So those are my big thoughts, my big takeaways from. Yeah, that's my big takeaway.
Dave and Floyd, I was there live.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I was there live, and the biggest pop was actually Jinder Mahal. I mean, it's working with him, which I actually enjoyed. I mean, he's an old school heel, and people really hated him. They were chanting USA because, as you guys know, he doesn't come out first. The other two guys do. And they were booing him out. He had a way bigger heel pop than even Kevin Owens. You know, a lot of fans like Kevin Owens. So his heel heat wasn't Jinder Mahal's heel heat. Number 2 was Baron Corbin. And I think it has to do with him going up against Shinsuke. But Baron Corbin, his pop was crazy, but it wasn't as loud as Jinder Mahal. Yes, we had John Cena. You had the John Cena back and forth. But the biggest heat was Jinder Mahal. And everyone loves AJ Styles. One thing I will say, though, that I know they edited, I know you guys didn't hear, when the New Day came out, after the New Day chants, everyone was chanting Xavier F-word page, pretty much the whole time he was in the ring. I know you guys didn't hear that. I know WWE edited that out, but that was pretty funny.
Oh, my God. I wish I'd heard that.
Yeah, we're in San Antonio. Of course, Del Rio has his restaurant there, and he challenged a couple of guys to a fight. And I think that kind of, there's some smarks out there that knew that, and so they kind of went with it, and they just chanted that pretty much the whole time poor Xavier was in the ring.
Yeah. So someone put on the Twitter when Alberto Del Rio challenged him, he's like, why would he tagged Xavier Woods? Said, why would Xavier Woods fight you? He already won.
And 205 against Cedric's the real deal. I think I spoke about this on our group page, but he sells really well. He does some pretty acrobatic stuff. He's a really, really good athlete, and I hope WWE does a lot more with him.
Amen, choir, and you are preaching to it. I've been chanting the glories of Cedric Alexander ever since I first saw a match with him and AJ Styles on YouTube. Which just blew me away. I enjoyed him in Ring of Honor, and in the Cruiserweight Classic, his match against Kota Ibushi was my favorite match of that whole event. It was one of my favorite matches of that whole year. So yeah, Cedric needs to eventually be moved out of 205 Live and moved into something else because he has world champion potential. He is fantastic.
Yeah, he is.
My thing with real quick, one last thing on SmackDown. I thought the main event on SmackDown was really boring overall. But on 205 Live, this show again suffers from being in front of a large, tired crowd that doesn't know these
Agreed.
If this show was in Full Sail, these guys would be over like no one's business. And yeah, so this show needs smarkier crowds. And I enjoyed it. I watched it. Drew Gulak is hilarious. I love his no fly zone thing. I think that's pretty darn funny. And so yeah, it's just the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, this is in the wrong setting. You're setting these guys up for failure because you're not letting them grow in front of a smart crowd. Because one thing I think NXT has taught us is that you can bring in people who might not be famous into the great masses, let them be built up, and get huge reactions, because the casual fan, I think, does watch a lot of the takeovers. And when you watch a takeover and you see this place going batshit crazy for, Enzo and Cass, for Finn Balor, for any of these guys, and then when they show up on Raw or SmackDown, you get that reaction that Shinsuke Nakamura got that first time he walked out. You get that reaction that the Revival got when they first came out. And that's what these are some talented freaking people that they have. Akira Tozawa is incredible. Cedric Alexander is a future world champion. I mean, almost the entire roster is filled with guys who are really good, other than Noam Dar. And it's just, yeah.
No, go ahead, Dave. And I want to say that, like, being there live, and I'm quite sure you two know this, you have the main event, and then right after that, there's a 7 to 10 minute pause, because you guys know they have to change the ropes, they have to do all that to set up. In that time, there are fans who are leaving.
Yeah,
because they are, and that's always been the case. But it was a lot different when you had the main event, and then there's maybe a 2 minute pause, and then boom, here comes the dark match. Here's the treat for those of us who are there live. But it does, and the work is, trust me, they're quick, they do a good job. But it takes so long after the main event to set up for 205 Live. A lot of people are tuned out, and then out comes T.J. Perkins. And Brian Kendrick is doing the best he could. You can tell he's the veteran there with those guys. But, here comes T.J. Perkins. Here comes a couple of other guys. You know them, but they've never cut a promo. They're not talking. And so a lot of people, it's at this point, it's 10, 15 at night. Kids are getting sleepy. They're ready to go home. They're so out of it after seeing AJ Styles and John Cena. It kind of takes some of that lure away from it. Now, with SmackDown starting at 7, I think it would be beneficial if 205 Live maybe started. Maybe they were their early match, and not having them at 10 o'clock at night beginning, and they have to change the ring, they have to change the road, they have to do all that stuff. I mean, you see, I forgot his name, Baby Flair, the referee, Charles Robinson. Well, he comes out, he's not in referee gear anymore. He's in shorts and a T-shirt because he's setting up, and people notice it. Okay, well, this must be it. Because here's that guy. He's not even in the referee gear attire anymore. So this must be over. And so little things like that I've noticed when I was there.
One thing I like that you mentioned, because Little Nate, as he's known to be called, looked so bored in that Rich Swann match. And I took a screenshot of it when he was like, ring the bell before TJP came out. He just gave no fucks. He's just like, I'm collecting a check. He's like, I have reffed Sting and Ric Flair when they were in their primes. What the fuck am I doing?
The big concern, unfortunately, that I have about 205 Live is that they don't let them wrestle a cruiserweight style. They don't just let them go. Over the last couple of weeks, it seems like they have. Cedric and Noam had a really good match, and then last week's TJP, I think it was last week, TJP and Richmond, they had a really good match, and they've been putting on really good matches. But it's just like this week they have the two out of 3 falls match. But I think they lost a lot of their audience, and now they're trying to get them back. And one of the things is it's really hard to get back an audience after you lose it, as opposed to entertaining the people that you already have. Because 205 Live, when it debuted, only thing that was more watched on the network was NXT, and it was pulling big numbers. And then you just gave us crappy television for the last few weeks, and then people stopped watching it because it was like, oh, okay, this is superstars with smaller people. And I was like, I think they need to roll out a second annual Cruiserweight Classic. Put some of their cruiserweights back in it. Some of the cruiserweights from the show back in it. Bring Kota Ibushi and Zack Sabre Jr. Maybe even get Will Ospreay if he can as a one-off.
Ricochet.
Ricochet.
Yeah.
Really put the tournament together, rebuild the buzz of the CWC, and kind of relaunch it. And then this time when you have it, let them wrestle the same way they were wrestling in the tournament.
Yeah, now I don't want Brian Kendrick busting out Burning Hammer every night. That was a special thing, and really, that should not have happened because Kota Ibushi should have been dead after that. One thing I will say real quick, one other thing that stood out to me, Jack Gallagher cut a hell of a promo on Kendrick, I thought. And Jack Gallagher is another guy. He has a lot of breakout potential. Maybe not because of his size. That's going to be his big problem. But he is so good in the ring. He does great character work. He does great comedy. But when he gets serious, when he got serious, because that was a serious promo he walked down, when he got in that ring, in my head, I'm watching this, I'm thinking to myself, if these two guys are really fighting, I'm putting my money on Jack Gallagher. Jack Gallagher's going to fuck this guy up.
And he is actually he's actually 2-0 as an MMA fighter.
Yeah, he has a better overall record than Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, so
better
yeah,
percentage.
Yeah,
I have a suggestion, guys, and this may not be popular. We like SmackDown being at 2 hours, correct?
Correct.
What if we did SmackDown goes from 2 hours and 30 minutes, just 30 minutes, and had that 30 minutes be how Nitro used to be with the cruiserweights, and just have that be not 205 Live, but kind of that'd be the time where the smaller guys can kind of get their shine on quote unquote the big show, or inject Enzo Amore.
I think that would help. But I've also said that's what the first hour of Raw should be. I think the first match on Raw every night should be a cruiser. Every month should be just like what they did with Nitro. Start off with the match, like the show starts and their music hits, and you start off with their cruiserweight match and let them get the audience in it with what they do, and then you kind of do the rest of the show. Because I think the worst thing on Raw is starting off with 20 minutes of someone talking.
Now, Floyd, you think? I mean, you feel that would really set the tone for the rest of the show. So those two guys in an opening match, whether it's Kendrick, Cedric, whoever, they got to go out there and they got to really, really bust their butt because they set which is a good idea. They set the tone for the rest of the show.
You take the handcuffs off of them, though. You can tell if you watch any of these wrestlers, their independent stuff. They're so much better than the WWE's allowing them to be.
Agreed.
Yeah,
it's not that they're boring. It's just that they're on a leash.
The restrictions.
Yeah.
So here's something that it goes along with this, and this was the guys over at Voices of Wrestling brought this up on their podcast this week. The idea that WWE is large enough with all of the shows that they have, they could serve every master. Meaning they could create tailored shows for every type of wrestling fan. You could have Raw be your sports entertainment show. You could have SmackDown be your edgier sports entertainment show. You have NXT as your indie show. And you could do something also with 205 Live. Like Floyd, I think the first hour of Monday Night Raw should be devoted to the cruiserweights. I also think the purple ropes needs to go away. That's stupid.
I don't think that's stupid. I think it differentiates the product. I like it.
So I'm fine with that. On 205 Live itself, make the ropes different. But I think they should put the first hour should just be cruiserweights. Everything else cruiserweight related needs to be filmed at Full Sail. And one of two things either needs to happen. They need to make the cruiserweight title something that is just defended on Raw and the pay-per-views, and then almost get rid of 205 Live and put everything else with that into NXT. And then that way you've got these guys who are in front of a crowd that actually appreciates them. They're able to do more of the things they did on the independents. Plus, they're going to do things that they're not just going to wrestle other cruiserweights. And so you're going to set the stage that, okay, yes, Cedric Alexander, he can wrestle Jack Gallagher and put on a great match, but you can put him in there with Drew McIntyre, a dude who towers over him, and they will have a great match. So at some point when Cedric, it's time for him to move out of that cruiserweight division, and he challenges The Miz for the IC title or something, people will believe it because they've seen him have matches and get wins over bigger dudes. That's the way I think this needs to be treated. Because right now, they're canceling shit left and right. And that's something else we need to talk about. The cancellation of Talking Smack, which is... yeah, ridiculous. And Max Landis, if you have not signed the petition, has started a petition. And normally I'm not a big Change.org petition guy because I think they're lame and nothing really ever comes of it. But Max Landis has started one, and I posted it on my Facebook and Twitter. You can find it on Max Landis's Twitter account. And there's already it's approaching, let's see, what was it? Let me pull it up right now. It's 11,423 supporters about bringing back Talk Smack. Here's the really screwed up thing about the way this all went down. Renee Young wasn't told. Daniel Bryan wasn't told. They found out through fucking Twitter. How... I mean, at what point do you not look at your boss and go, really? This is how little you think of me? That I'm going to have to find out on social media that my show got canned? And the thing is, Renee Young, when her contract is up, ESPN and Fox Sports are going to try to pick her up so fast because she's incredible. She is knowledgeable. Obviously, she's very beautiful, but she is a very, very good announcer. And now she's going back to doing. So, what do you think about what just happened in the ring?
Well, I'll if you don't mind, Floyd, I'll go. One of the things that was very popular was when Stone Cold did his podcast. The podcast was, remember when he did it with Vince McMahon, with Stephanie, and with all that. Jericho did it. I think McFoley. Talking Smack to me was kind of an extension of that. We set Renee down. We're gonna have the performers come in after the show and talk about what just happened and things of that nature. One of the I mean, let's be honest here. In 2016, one of the biggest buzz of the WWE was when The Miz, quote unquote, went off and went back and forth with Daniel Bryan on Talking Smack. Was that real? Was it scripted? Was it not? That was an incredible show.
I think that's where Alexa, just to add to that, I think that's where Alexa Bliss got over too.
Yeah, and it's like, look, you can't take that, sit that away because that was cool. Even Big Cass, when he did his first ever heel sit down promo after his turn, that was pretty good. And to see Paul Rosenberg's interaction with him and Renee's, that's something that was cool. I don't know why they got rid of it. I hope they bring it back. It kind of takes me back into the old days. You guys remember Piper's Pit?
Oh yeah.
It was kind of a Piper's Pit, but in a newer version where these people sit down. Okay, these guys are hot because they just got done performing. Okay, boom, let's sit them down and let's let them chop it up and let them help talk people into the arena. And that's what they were doing. Let's be honest. That Miz Daniel Bryan interaction when they were arguing or yelling, that was one of the best segments to me that they did the whole year.
Yes. I had people talking to me that don't watch wrestling regularly asking me, was that real?
Exactly.
And they were like, were they really about to fight? Because it looked like Daniel Bryan was about to fight him a lot of times. When the Miz say stuff, shut him down. And Daniel Bryan couldn't, challenge him because he can't wrestle. So he looked like he was about to fight him on the show. I mean, Talking Smack as a property is amazing, and I don't understand why it's even a thought to get rid of that show. Because sometimes the best thing about SmackDown is Talking Smack.
Exactly. And Floyd, you saw how hot The Miz got, and I think this is where people come in there, smarts. I'll throw that name out, that word. When Daniel Bryan told The Miz, well, you wrestle safe. And The Miz immediately just got really, really hot, so to speak.
Someone said that to him in his personal life because it was like he went off, but it was a prepared answer. Yeah. Now, I don't work. I might wrestle safe, but I'm here. I don't get hurt. You wrestled your way, and you can't wrestle anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfect. It was the perfect response. And it was just like, wow. And The Miz getting angry, I mean, he's a very excitable person as it is. If you've ever seen him on Sports Nation, it was kind of awesome, seeing him go off on that. And a lot of times he got the better of their situation. And it's kind of funny. I even said it. Even after talking smack, I was thinking, man, this will make a perfect Miz face turn if they wanted to do it. That's how good he was.
Oh yeah, the Miz got over so much last year because of talking smack. Yeah. That whole thing with Daniel Bryan, that is why he got over, and that's also kind of why he has fizzled a little bit on Raw. My understanding from what I've read is that Vince didn't like the unscripted nature of it, of talking smack, and so that's why he wanted it canceled. Vince is such a control freak. Can you imagine, unless you're only one of a handful of people, how fucking awful it would be to have Vince McMahon as your boss? I mean, because as soon as you're within his radar, because probably 75% of the company, he has no idea who the hell they are, and they're not important enough for him to know.
But it teaches you to be very good with money.
Yeah, but then
he can fire you at any time.
True, but then there's that percentage that once you're at the point when the boss knows who you are, and I always hated getting to that point. I always hated it when I realized that upper management knew who I was. My first thought was, oh, fuck. So when you're to that point, man, he is going to be a pain in the ass, micromanaging sack of crap to work for. And just the epitome of everything wrong with a boss in Vince McMahon. Greedy, doesn't care about people, just whatever it does to make him more money, to make his company more money. And sure, yes, it's the capitalistic, rah, 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 America, Donald Trump way of doing things. Fuck that crap. So I'm just not all serious here.
I mean, do you guys? Yeah, why are you getting hot?
Hot takes.
I mean, do you guys? I wanted to follow up. I had a follow-up question for you two. Do you guys ever see that with the wrestlers who they're in NXT, which clearly Vince doesn't have much of a? I mean, I know it's his product, but that's more Triple H, Road Dogg, Matt Bloom, and all those other people. Where you have guys who maybe. I don't know if it's their choice, but maybe they're not in a rush to go to the main roster because of maybe but they really enjoy themselves, because we can go down a list of guys and gals who did way better work in NXT than they have at the main roster so far.
Yeah, I mean, I have, to me, NXT is actually a viable option now. It's like Cassius Ohno, he's probably never going to get called up. And I think he's okay with that. I think Roderick Strong, I think he's very much in that category. Eric Young, I don't ever think he's going to get called up. I think he will be grooming people to get called up as a part of Sanity, but I don't think those people, I think they're going to be staples of NXT, and I don't think they have a problem with it. You work less. I mean, especially Eric Young, he works TV tapings. And, he works TV tapings in the weekends, You work less, so your body's taking a lot. You get to mentor younger people and work with them and get them better. And they make a pretty good money. The people that the people like Drew and Eric, the people that made good money on the indie scenes, they get paid a little more than, let's say, someone that is actually just starting in NXT. So that being said, they still get the shirts to sell and all that kind of stuff. You can make a good living just being in NXT. And Triple H, he's going to be super loyal to you because you're not bothering him all the time to get called up.
Yeah, I think
I'm anxious to ever hear if have there ever been a guy or a gal who did get called up and said, you know what, no, I want to stay. I'd rather stay here.
I think that would be something. I don't think that has happened because you always take the promotion.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but like right now, you have Hideo Itami. I think Hideo Itami would be, if the reins were taking off, I think he could help the cruiserweight division. because he's a big enough name to be a draw to the show, especially from the NXT crowd. But I think if you want to do that way, you have to move the show to the campus. You have to move it to Full Sail. And but me and Dave have been saying that since like the second week of the show that it should move to Full Sail. It's the only thing that's going to save the show if they even have a desire to save it.
Yeah, I agree. It's I think guys like like Floyd said, your Cassius Ohnos, Roderick Strongs. I think Drew McIntyre's not going anywhere. I think Eric Young's not going anywhere. I think Bobby Roode eventually will go up because he's the kind of guy I could see Vince loving. Minor spoilers here. So Kyle O'Reilly made his NXT debut in the tapings. If they put him and Bobby Fish together, which we're going to talk about NXT here in a second, and they bring back Red Dragon, you could insert them into Raw or SmackDown's tag team division pretty much right now. They could go through, win the Dusty Classic, boom, go up, and have feuds with any of those tag teams and have great matches. I could see, from that standpoint, I could see them going up as a tag team. I think once Adam Cole comes in, he will eventually get to the main roster.
Adam Cole's only 28, so
yeah, exactly, and he has plenty of time, and he's gonna be money because once you establish him and you get the Adam Cole Bebe thing over through Full Sail, and you get a takeover or two where you have a gigantic crowd screaming that at the top of their lungs whenever he shows up on Raw or SmackDown, and I still want him to use his Ring of Honor music. On guys, make that happen, but walks out and does his thing, then the place will go berserk. But yeah, I think NXT is really going to become a destination for people, and I think that's a good thing because honestly, it is the best thing WWE has done in years, and it is the thing that I consider myself a fan of NXT far more than either Raw or SmackDown. It is just a better show. I enjoy it more, and I prefer those smaller, intimate crowds anyway. So I love the setting of Full Sail. But hey, let's go ahead and talk about this week. So we did get the debut.
One thing I did want to say about SmackDown. I just wanted to say this, and I made this point on the club. I don't know if either one of you read it. The whole kickoff with starting off with AJ Styles and John Cena, and then giving us a tag match took me completely out of SmackDown.
Yeah, I saw that, Floyd. You didn't like that.
I didn't either.
You did that. I was like, it's like your wife promising you steak when you get home, and she's like, I decided to just make bologna sandwiches. I mean, hey, you might not have a problem with bologna. I like bologna, but you had me ready for steak. So you start off, and I'm thinking we're going to get AJ Styles and John Cena on SmackDown, and then we get the normal tag team match where none of the four people in the tag teams like each other. Which I always say, those type of matches don't make any sense to me. That is my only pairing from SmackDown, because I promise you, that could have been the greatest show ever. I checked out after that.
Yeah, good call. Also, the Fashion Files was fantastic.
You know what? I honestly kept saying I was going to go back and watch it because I heard how good, but that's how checked out of SmackDown it was. I'm like, you can't tell me I'm going to get AJ Styles and John Cena in San Antonio where they put on one of the best matches I ever saw.
Yep.
Then not give it to me and be like, still enjoy the rest of SmackDown. I was done.
Yeah, and the thing, I mean, multi-man tag matches can be effective ways to get people over. New Japan, the majority of their matches are these kind of clusterfucky tag team matches, and they do a really good job of getting people over. WWE can't do this to save their damn lives. So yeah, that was awful.
Don't come in, but New Japan doesn't come out and say you're going to get you're going to get Okada versus versus good Lord Omega tonight, and then then say, "Oh no, never mind."
Yeah, that
you're in the Bullet Club versus Chaos now.
Yeah, that would be like, oh hey, it's this challenge. Okada and Omega are staring each other down, and then they come back and say, well, our main event tonight is Okada and Marty Scurll, or Okada and Cody Rhodes taking on, or Omega and Cody Rhodes taking on Okada and Will Ospreay, and you're like, really?
Yeah, and that's what I'm like. To me, they were trying to tease you, but it really took me out of the rest of the show. It did not have the result that they wanted. No. I didn't care about the rest of the show. And everyone knows how I love Kevin Owens. I honestly don't even know who won that tag match.
Yeah, I'd seen in Styles, but I only know that because I wrote it down. Yeah, that was not a good kind of tease. That was a blue ball kind of tease, and we just don't need that from our SmackDown.
Another quick thing, guys. What do you guys think about the whole Sami Zayn, Maria, Mike Kanellis Power of Love stuff that they're doing?
Fucking weird.
What, you're trying to get Maria and Mike. You're trying to get them over by putting them in a high profile feud. I think Mike should win a little bit before just jumping right in a feud with Sami Zayn.
Yeah, I liked Sami's comment about, do you even wrestle here?
Yeah.
and Mike getting up in his face. It was, yeah. I don't know.
You know, brothers, okay, here's one of the things that's going to start to piss me off. On Talking Smack, they asked Mike, why is your name not your name? Why did you take Kanellis? We got all those type of questions on Talking Smack. Damn it, and they're going to get rid of it.
Yeah, it added color to feuds. Like he owns, I guess he owns the name, so they went away with it and they just dropped the Bennett part. But he is Kanellis Bennett on the indie scenes, and he just went with Kanellis. And I understand what they're trying to do with it. Like I said, it's one of those things. I am a little old school in my logic, but you bring him in and you have them beat like 5 or 6 people over the next few weeks. Do a gimmick where you're leaving flowers on them about the power of love or whatever, and then you start a feud. Because right now, if Sami Zayn beats Mike Bennett, it doesn't mean anything. If Mike Bennett beats Sami Zayn, it kind of really still doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know how good or bad he is.
Yeah, I'm still hoping out that they sign Matt Taven, and then they bring in Adam Cole and they just put the Kingdom back together. That would be the best way to go.
They have the Kingdom. It's on Raw. It's called the Miztourage.
Yeah, that's not as good though.
I honestly think it's great, but
I like the Miztourage. Don't get me wrong.
But I'm just saying, they right now they won't do the Kingdom because it would be the Miztourage.
Yeah, true that.
The same reason they added the people to the Miztourage, to try to keep them separate. But yeah, we got to talk about NXT because you have to wrap up pretty soon.
We do, yeah. So NXT, we had the debut of Bobby Fish. I loved Nigel McGuinness's reaction when he saw Fish's name on the Tron. He screamed like yes or finally or something. It's
about time.
Yeah, it's about time. And man, is it just? Can we just all agree that Nigel McGuinness is fantastic in this role?
I think he's really good. I think he's really good on NXT, and the combination of him and Mario Ronaldo, I actually feel sorry for Percy Watson because he is not necessary.
Yeah, I agree. But they have great chemistry together.
Yeah, like I say, he can learn everything he needs to do about color commentating, and I know that's a lot of it, is Triple H takes them back and shows them the ropes. Corey Graves was a savant, and he picked it up really, really quickly. And I remember when he started on the show, he was good from the beginning. So, of course, unfortunately for someone like Percy Watson, you have that to live up to. Someone that was just a natural, out of the gate. So now you have that, but yeah, the commentating group on NXT to me is the best commentating group in the WWE.
Agreed. I thought this was a good match. I don't think Bobby Fish lost anything by losing to Aleister Black, because it kind of like the way Samoa Joe on Raw is just on this whole other level when you see him around other people. Aleister Black has this mystique of being on this whole other level. I don't think he's uttered a
do
word.
Any wrestling moves?
A few, I think.
No. He doesn't do wrestling moves. He is basically an MMA fighter as a WWE. He does it stylistically, and he does a lot of the sit-down thing is cool. And like I said, it works for him, but as a wrestling fan, pure wrestling fan, it is very annoying that he doesn't actually do wrestling moves for me.
I can see that. This I thought was a really good match. I mean, it wasn't really good. It was a good match. I thought it was a good debut for Bobby Fish. I love the fact that he was over, that the crowd obviously knew who he was. So that was cool. Jeff, do you have any thoughts on the Bobby Fish debut?
Not. I mean, I like Bobby Fish. I think he's going to bring a new dynamic to the show. Pretty much to what both you guys said about him. I mean, he'll learn and he'll get in there and he'll kick some butt. But I wanted to say with NXT, the Velveteen Dream is one of the best names for a wrestler I've ever heard.
Yes. And you know what? And when I first heard it, I thought that was a very good, cool shout out to the American Dream. So,
yeah.
And like I said, most people just wouldn't get the whole Velveteen gimmick, but it's a very good gimmick. He lives it, and he does it well. He had that little backstage thing where the lady tried to talk to him, and he said, "Do you think this is the right setting?" And then he just walks away, and I love that. And it just goes with his gimmick. Patrick Clark. He was at Access at WrestleMania 32, and he didn't have a line, and I could not believe it because I see star so much in the guy.
It took me back to when I was a kid, because I remember reading a book in first grade called The Velveteen Rabbit.
I read that to my kids. That's a great book.
I read that.
That is, Patrick Clark is great. I kind of wish he'd kept the name Patrick Clark. And at first I was like, Velveteen Dream, what the hell? But he owns it. But he's a guy. He comes out and he is so good, and his character work is great. He's good in the ring. He has an elbow drop that is really good. That doesn't make you immediately think of Randy Savage. So, I agree. I think he's really good.
And he doesn't. You don't have to rush. He's only 20.
Yeah,
you can really take time to develop him, and you can build up his star in NXT, and you can really debut him as a main heel whenever you decide to do it. Exactly. Because, like I said, he doesn't have to be on the main roster by 22. I mean, it'd be great if he is, and it'd be great if he gets it, but take time, season him, build up his fan base, then think about bringing him up.
Agreed.
I mean, come on, guys. Do you all really think that the NXT commentary team is going to be better than Jim Ross and Lita?
I am so afraid for that commentating.
It was a joke. It was a joke.
Classic. I'm afraid.
I am too. Because
it was a rib.
Lita's kind of wooden to me.
And JR at the G1 specials was so bad. It was so bad. Oh, it hurt my soul.
But maybe they'll keep him sober, because apparently he was inebriated for quite a bit of the G1.
And I think the thing is, I think he takes, and this is just me reading into the way he was behaving at the G1. I think and the way he behaved, say at Takeover, I think he takes WWE far more seriously than New Japan. I think he's just like, oh, this is a nice, cute little paycheck for me to get, and WWE is the promised land.
And Triple H is the producer of the Mae Young Classic. He's not going to have as many strings on him. He doesn't have a guy yelling in his ear. That's the thing about the NXT and those classic products. They don't have to say, hey, during the middle of this match, make sure you go to fight. This match was brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. They call the match, you know what I mean? And they worry about the match. They're not really trying to set up a story. They're just calling a good wrestling match.
Yep. What'd you guys think?
His strong suit.
What'd you guys think of the Street Profits little vignette?
Yeah, they're called Red Shoes and White Shoes. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. Yeah, they're pretty awesome. I think they're the way that they meant Crime Time to be, and I like it. I like it, but I don't like it. I just don't like that every black tag team has to be criminals.
Yeah, it cracked me up, but yeah, you're right. There's also that end of it. But what cracked me up is just their tone of voice. And they were like, when the alarm went off, they're like, "Oh crap." That part made me laugh. I just want to know now: is Angelo Dawkins, when he comes out, is he still going to be stirring stuff?
He still stirs it up.
That's funny.
He does. He did it at the NXT.
Stirring the pot.
He still be mixing it up, and I love it. Montez Ford is a freak athlete. I don't know if you've ever seen him. That when you see him wrestle, he is a freak athlete.
I haven't, but I'm looking forward to seeing him wrestle now.
Oh my God, he has like a 12-pack too. He has like Finn Balor abs. Actually, I think Finn Balor wants his abs.
Damn, that must be nice. But so the other big things, let's see. So they set up a match for next week. Killian Dane taking on Drew McIntyre. The winner gets Bobby Roode at Brooklyn. That combined with what happened after the main event with the Heavy Machinery lost to Authors of Pain, and then Sanity came out, and pieces of, I guess, the Authors of Pain book were falling from the ceiling, and Alexander Wolf was eating it. That, to me, I was like, that was a cool stare down, because I like the idea of Sanity and Authors of Pain going against each other, but it kind of also gives away the ending of the match of next week, because if Killian Dane is in a tag team match against Authors of Pain, he's not going to be challenging Bobby Roode for the title.
Well, I can give you some backstage news on this. Eric Young had a family emergency. Okay. So, if you notice the last few weeks, Sanity has been without Eric Young, so he wasn't at those tapings. Otherwise, it was supposed to be Eric Young and Alexander Wolf coming out there with Killian Dane kind of backing them up. But because Eric Young couldn't make the tapings because of his family emergency, that is why we got what we got. It was not meant to foreshadow. In the end, it may have.
Well, and Killian Dane isn't in the point yet to be challenging for the NXT title.
He's undefeated. Yes,
he is. But he's not Drew McIntyre, and I think he's going to lose to Drew McIntyre.
And like I said, it could have been. They might have threw Killian Dane in that spot. It might have been Eric Young that was supposed to be in that main event spot.
Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, I think what's going to happen is Brooklyn will be Drew McIntyre and Bobby Roode, quite possibly Drew McIntyre beating Bobby Roode for the title. I don't think it's time yet. I would rather them see some chicanery and some shenanigans on Mr. Roode's part, maybe pulling a Ric Flair, because, he's borrowed just about everything else from Ric Flair, and squeaking away with the title, and just drawing out that feud to maybe, the takeover at Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I would like to see Bobby Roode versus Drew McIntyre versus Roderick Strong at Brooklyn. I think because they don't do very many triple threat world title matches. Like, all their world title matches are one-on-one, so that would be a good thing to throw in there. But, hey, if you give me one-on-one Drew McIntyre and Bobby Roode all day, every day.
Nice.
Yeah. And it would give Roderick something to do.
Most importantly, I'll be there, so that would be awesome.
Johnny Gargano had a great in-ring promo. What'd you guys think of his new music?
I did not even pay attention.
Me either.
I think I got a call or something while it is, and I paused it, and then I watched the interview, and I don't even think I even heard his music.
Yeah, he came out to the DIY music, and he left to a new song which had some of the same basic chord structure and some lady singing. It wasn't bad. I prefer the old one. I really like that DIY music. But I could see them giving them both new music. I mean, look how great Keeping the Shield's music has been for Roman Reigns. He should have gotten new music too. But yeah, what'd you guys think of this promo? I enjoyed it.
NXT, again, proving they can do anything but better than the main roster, really did a good job of making a sympathetic babyface here. I think Johnny Gargano is the perfect sympathetic babyface. it's almost impossible not to like him. So I think he got his point across when him and hopefully he wins some matches. And when Ciampa comes back, you know they can put on a great match because their match in the first round of the CWC was the best match of the first round.
Oh my God, it was one of the best matches of the tournament. That thing was incredible. Yeah, I agree. Jeff, what do you think?
I didn't catch it. Floyd keeps taking all my answers. I got caught up at work doing some other things, so I missed it. But I'm definitely gonna either sometime later today. I'm gonna go back and watch it, and then I'm gonna post on our web on the club what I think about it.
Yeah. I didn't mean to your answer. I literally work doing all the shows during the week. So
yeah.
Overnight, so I work doing all the shows. So that's pretty much done. I'm usually like watching stuff in between it, and if I really miss something big, I come back and watch it a little later that night. That should tell you how much SmackDown annoyed me. I didn't even go back and watch it.
This guy.
I was like, oh my God, you just can't do that. You can't tease me like that. I'm like, oh my God, you don't understand. That AJ Styles versus John Cena match completely changed my opinion of John Cena. I mean, that's how good that match is.
Yeah, and I know Dave, you got to go, but real quick, and I posted it. I wanted to get you guys' take on the Mae Young Classic.
I judge everything by in-ring work, so it's gonna start before you. It's gonna start before I really have an opinion on it, and I truly consider myself very much all about gender equality when it comes to women's wrestling and men's wrestling. I judge them on the same level, and that can be a good thing and a bad thing, because I'm gonna put you over just as great when you're good. I'm gonna shit on you when you're bad. So if any of these people are bad, they will get shit on.
And Dave and Floyd, my thing is this: there's 32 women. I think this is just my opinion. 8 of them get a contract for WWE. Serena D to me has an advantage because she's been there before. There's one of the ladies who's from India, and I know they're really pushing that. And she's I think her name is Kavita Devi. She's really tall. There is a lady from the Noah family, so you know what that means. You can pretty much pencil her in too. So I'm definitely those 3. I'm gonna say make it. Tessa Blanchard has been getting a lot of buzz. So has Paul Ellering's daughter. No one wanted Paul Ellering. Paul Ellering himself did not want his daughter in wrestling, but we've seen that with Mick Foley and Charlotte Flair and a few others, so we're not going to go. So there's about 5 people in there. Tessa Blanchard has to be one, just because of her buzz alone, and she's noticeable. But I just wanted to get you guys' take on that. I mean, I know that it's not a real tournament, it's scripted, blah, 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 but I'm anxious to see how many of these, out of 32, how many of them within a year now actually have a legitimate WWE contract?
I think I'm going to say I am going to go in the higher. I'm going to say 12 to 15 because they're really trying to build the women's division. And NXT is kind of low on talented women wrestlers right now. And I think Asuka's about to get called up. So I think they're really going to be like looking for their next stars. Mia Yim, she worked in TNA as Jade, but she is a really, really good wrestler.
Good call.
And that's who I'm really hoping gets that. That's like one of the people I'm really hoping to get signed. And I think like 5 or 6 are already signed out of the 32, but they just kept off TV. Like the Bianca Belair chick, she's been with the WWE for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. But I'm really looking forward. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to it because I'm all about women's wrestling. I am. But I'm about quality wrestling more than anything.
I'm looking forward to it. I don't know a whole ton about a lot of the people. I think the one I kind of have pegged to win, and they changed her last name to Sane, is the lady from Japan who does that just gorgeous elbow drop from the top rope. She is a scary mofo. I mean, she's like Asuka scary. I could see she's. I would not be surprised if she wins, if she signs a contract, and I think she probably has. But yeah, I think for sure Tessa Blanchard, Rachel Ellering are going to be sticking around because both done work in NXT for a while. And I'm kind of with Floyd. I think the number is going to be somewhere between 8 and 15 people that actually get signed, because honestly, right now, all 3 women's divisions that WWE have desperately need an influx of new talent.
And you guys are right. And we're going to factor in both of the Bellas are gone. I don't know what the hell's going on with Summer Rae. There are some missing pieces there.
Yeah.
And so we can maybe you inject 1 or 2 of them in 205 Live. Maybe you give this. I mean, there's a lot of things definitely that you guys can do. So again, you guys are correct. Maybe I'm a little low with 10, but I think at least that many has to be injected into the main product.
I completely agree. But we got to wrap up the show now.
Yeah, real quick, the thing that needs to not happen is a weekly all-women show. That does not need to happen. It's I mean, seriously, it's pretty simple. You call up Asuka, you call up the Iconic Duo. You could even call up, or probably at this. I mean, Ruby Riott and Nikki Cross are pretty much as ready as they're going to be to go up, but they need more time for the audience to get to know them. So you send up Asuka, you send up the Iconic Duo, and then you build everything around Nikki Cross, Ruby Riott, and the new batch of people. You get Aaliyah better, you get Liv Morgan better, so they can go on up, and then
a lot better.
Do what?
Liv Morgan a lot better because she's horrible.
Oh God, she's I mean, she's essentially at the very, when I first saw her, I was like, oh hey, it's Alexa Bliss from New Jersey.
Yeah.
But without any of the talent.
Yeah, she's got a while. She's gonna have to build her up. Yeah. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to what it can bring. I'm looking forward to that person that none of us is talking about that ends up being a star. I'm looking forward to the whole 32. Triple H does a really good job of producing these shows, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a hard-hitting match. The whole thing is, it could be so good that the women on the main roster have to step their game up.
Which is exactly what the 4 Horsewomen did when they came up. So, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Well, we better get out of here because I got a kid I got to go pick up.
All right, man.
Well, Jeff, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. I hope you have time sometime in the future to come back on. And thank you just for listening. It means a lot to us.
Hey, you know what, Dave and Floyd? This has been great. I love it, man. Whenever you guys need me, just let me know. I'd be more than happy to jump on again and talk wrestling.
All right.
Excellent. Well, don't forget, everyone, to you can find us online at aroundtheringok.com. You can follow the show on Facebook and Twitter at aroundtheringok. Floyd tweets often during events as work lets him do so. So you can get some of those hot takes as they're happening. And Floyd, I do have a question for you. Life is a strange thing, but is it really up to us? I mean, or is it all planned out?
All right, before I end the show, just want to throw out, we will not have a show next week. I'm having a little oral surgery. Dave is going on vacation, but we will be back. I will hopefully upload a review of WWE Battleground next week. But just to let you know, life, definitely, don't let it get you down because it's all a work. Don't forget to count out at 2. We're having kick out at 2. I'm going to say that again. Fix it, Dave.
No, I'm leaving it in.
I'm
leaving it in.
Don't leave it in. Life's a work. Don't forget to kick out at 2. We'll see you next time around the ring.